It sounds like somebody was banging on the side of my house. I don't know. Oh, could y'all come and see?
30-year-old Sean Grayson and his partner responded to the call, the situation quickly escalating when Sonia asked to take a boiling pot of water off the stove.
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
You better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot. Drop the pot. Drop the
19 shots fired.
shots fired. Shots fired.
Well, now to a disturbing case out of Illinois involving a woman who called 911 for help, only to be shot and killed by a responding deputy.
On July 6, 2024, 36-year-old Sonya Massey was alone in her Springfield, Illinois home when she heard something outside. She was scared, so she did what millions of Americans do every day. She called the police for protection. 2 deputies arrived at her door. Within minutes, one of them fired 3 bullets into her head while she crouched behind her kitchen counter, apologizing. The officer's own body camera captured everything. The footage shows a terrified woman who died in the hands of the very people who were supposed to help her. It shows her final moments, and it shows something that will make your blood boil. That is, what the killer said right after he murdered her. This isn't just another police shooting. This is the story of a deputy with a history so dark, it's shocking he was ever given a badge. A system that failed at every level. But here's what nobody expected. The truth about what really happened in those final seconds will leave you speechless. Welcome back to our channel, where we bring you the most compelling true crime stories that demand justice and accountability. If this is your first time here, you're about to hear a story that will stay with you long after this video ends. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest investigations into cases that matter. And if you believe that every victim deserves justice, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up right now. Today's case is one that shook the nation and sparked changes in police departments across America. It's the story of a mother who called for help and paid the ultimate price. This is the story of Sonya Massey. Sonya Massey was everything you'd want in a neighbor. A loving mother to 2 teenagers, a 17-year-old son named Malachi, and a 15-year-old daughter. She lived quietly in Springfield, Illinois, trying her best to take care of herself and stay connected to her kids. But Sonya was fighting battles most people couldn't see. She struggled with her mental health, and in the week before she died, she had checked herself into a treatment program in St. Louis. She wanted to get better. She came home after just 2 days, but she was still trying. Her family knew she needed support. That's why her children had recently moved in with their father, not because Sonya didn't love them, but because she was working on herself. Her son Malachi would later tell the world how much his mother loved them and how hard she was trying to heal. What makes Sonya's story even more painful is her family's history. Her ancestor, William Dunnigan, was killed during the Springfield race riots in 1908, the same riots that led to the creation of the NAACP. Both Sonya and her ancestor died at the same hospital more than a century apart. In the days before July 6th, both Sonya and her mother had been calling 911 repeatedly, asking for help. Her mother even told the dispatcher something that breaks your heart when you hear it now. She specifically asked them not to send anyone prejudiced because she didn't want anyone to hurt her daughter.
On July 5th, Massey's mother, Donna, called 911, saying Sonya was having a mental health episode, her mother pleading with the operator not to hurt her daughter.
She's been mentally having a mental breakdown. She thinks everybody's after her.
On that Saturday night, Sonya was alone in her house when she heard something outside that scared her. She picked up the phone and called 911 last time. She had no idea that the person coming to help her would be the person who would kill her. Sonya Lene Wilburn Massey was born on February 12, 1988. She would have turned 37 this past February, but she never got the chance. What she did get was 36 years of being a daughter, a friend, and most importantly, a mother who loved her children more than anything in the world. Her son, Malachi Hill Massey, was 17 when he lost his mom. Her daughter was just 15. These weren't little kids. They were teenagers who understood exactly what was happening when their mother was taken from them. Malachi has spoken publicly about his mom since her death, and his words will break your heart.
She was just a ball of love, honestly, to me. She cooked me the best food. I love her food. She was just a ball of energy, like a ball of energy. She could talk to anybody, you know. She's just the most loving person ever.
He talks about how much she loved them, how she was trying to get better, and how she never stopped fighting for her family. Sonya wasn't perfect, and she knew it. She battled with her mental health, something millions of Americans face every day. But here's what made Sonya special. She didn't give up. Just 1 week before she died, she made the brave decision to check herself into a 30-day treatment program in St. Louis. She wanted to get better. She wanted to be the best mother she could be. Something happened during those 2 days in treatment, and Sonya came home early. We don't know exactly why, but what we do know is that she was still trying. Her children had moved in with their father during this time, not because Sonya was a bad mother, but because she was putting their needs first while she worked on herself. The Massey family carries a heavy history. Sonya was the descendant of William Doniger, a black man who was murdered during the Springfield race riots of 1908. Those riots were so terrible, so shocking, that they led to the creation of the NAACP. 17 black people died over 2 days of violence. William Donegan was one of them. Here's what will give you chills. Both Sonya and her ancestor died at the exact same hospital in Springfield, St. John's Hospital, more than a century apart, but the same place, the same city, the same kind of violence that should have ended generations ago. On July 6th, when Sonya made that final call about a prowler, she was alone. Her mother wasn't there to make that request. Her children weren't there to protect her. It was just Sonya, scared in her own home, doing what any of us would do, calling for help. She had no way of knowing that the deputy who would respond had a history of violence. She had no way of knowing that he had been fired from job after job for misconduct. She had no way of knowing that in less than an hour, she would be dead. All she knew was that she was scared, and she needed help. It was just after midnight on July 6, 2024. Most people in Springfield, Illinois were fast asleep, but Sonya Massey was wide awake, and she was scared. She heard something outside her house on Hoover Avenue. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was her mind playing tricks on her. But in that moment, alone in her home, Sonya felt like someone was trying to break in. So she did what millions of Americans do when they're in trouble. She picked up the phone and called 911. "I think someone's trying to get into my house," she told the dispatcher. She needed help. She needed protection. She trusted that the people who would come to her door would keep her safe. At 12:50 a.m., 2 deputies from the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office pulled up to Sonya's house. One was Sean Grayson, a 30-year-old deputy from Riverton. The other was his partner, whose name we still don't know. They got out of their patrol car and started looking around. They walked through Sonya's backyard. They checked the area around her property. They looked for any signs that someone had been there trying to break in. But they found nothing. No footprints, no broken windows, no evidence that anyone had been prowling around her house. After about 3 minutes of searching, Grayson walked up to Sonya's front door and knocked. He knocked again and again. No answer. Finally, after what felt like forever, Sonya opened the door. She was holding her cell phone, probably still shaken up from whatever she thought she heard outside. The deputies told her they had searched everywhere and didn't find anything suspicious. This should have been the end of the story. The deputies should have said goodnight, gotten back in their car, and driven away. Sonya should have locked her door, gone to bed, and woken up the next morning to see her children again. But that's not what happened. As the deputies were getting ready to leave, the unnamed officer walked around to the side of Sonya's house. He wanted to check the license plate of a car in her driveway. Sonya told them it wasn't her car. While his partner was checking the plate, Grayson kept talking to Sonya at her front door. Then, for reasons that still don't make sense, all three of them went inside Sonya's house. Once they were inside, everything changed. Grayson started asking Sonya for her driver's license over and over again. "Can I see your ID? Where's your license?" Sonya started looking through a small stack of papers on her counter. She searched through her purse. She was trying to help, trying to find what he wanted. At one point, she asked Grayson to hand her a Bible. Think about that. In the middle of this tense moment, Sonya reached for her faith. While she was searching for her ID, the deputies noticed something. There was a pot of water boiling on Sonya's stove. The unnamed deputy said they needed her to check on it because "We don't need a fire while we're here."
30-year-old Sean Grayson and his partner responded to the call, the situation quickly escalating when Sonya asked to take a boiling pot of water off the stove.
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Sonya walked over to her stove and picked up the pot of hot water. She carried it toward her sink. That's when both deputies started backing away from her. They walked toward the house, but before they got there, Sonya ordered them. Sonya noticed them moving backward and asked, "What are you doing?" Grayson told her he was getting away from the hot water. She asked again why they were backing up. And then Sonya said something that would cost her life. She said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments below. Those 7 words, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," were probably Sonya's way of dealing with stress. Maybe it was her faith helping her cope. Maybe she felt threatened by the way the officers were acting. But to Sean Grayson, those words meant something completely different. Grayson's response was immediate and terrifying. He drew his gun, pointed it directly at Sonya's face, and screamed, "You better fucking not! I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you right in your fucking face." His partner also pulled out his weapon. Now there were 2 guns pointed at a woman holding a pot of water in her own kitchen. Sonya knew she was in danger. She immediately said, "Okay, I'm sorry," and dropped down to the floor behind her kitchen counter. She was trying to make herself small, trying to show she wasn't a threat. She was apologizing for words that came from her faith. But instead of backing down, both deputies moved toward her. They advanced from the living room into the kitchen with their guns still pointed at her. Grayson kept yelling, "Drop the fucking pot! Drop the fucking pot!" Sonya was crouched behind the counter, probably terrified out of her mind. The body camera footage shows she might have been holding the pot above her head, maybe trying to protect herself, maybe trying to show she was putting it down. After several seconds of shouting, Sean Grayson made a choice that would destroy 2 families forever. He fired 3 shots. The bullets hit Sonya in the head. She collapsed behind the counter and never got up again. The unnamed deputy immediately called for medical help. He started to leave to get his medical kit from the car, but Grayson stopped him with words that show exactly who he really is. "She's done," Grayson said. "You can go get it, but that's a headshot. There's nothing you can do, man." A woman was dying on her kitchen floor, and the man who killed her was already giving up on saving her life. But this story gets worse, much worse, because what we discovered about Sean Grayson will shock you. John Patrick Grayson should never have been wearing a police badge on July 6, 2024. In fact, he should never have been hired as a police officer anywhere. But somehow, despite a history that screams danger, he kept getting jobs in law enforcement. Here's what's truly shocking. Between 2020 and 2024, Grayson worked for 6 different police departments in Illinois. 6 different departments in just 4 years. Think about that. Most good cops stay with one department for years, even decades. But Grayson? He was jumping from job to job like someone running from his past. And his past was ugly. Before Grayson ever became a cop, he was in the Army, but his military career ended in disgrace. In 2015, he was convicted of driving under the influence. Then, Just 1 year later, in 2016, he got another DUI conviction, 2 drunk driving convictions in 2 years while serving his country. The Army had seen enough. In February 2016, they discharged Sean Grayson for serious misconduct. He was kicked out of the military for being unable to follow basic rules about not drinking and driving. After his discharge, Grayson moved to Junction City, Kansas, but eventually he made his way back to Illinois and somehow convinced police departments to hire him. That's where the real problems began. In 2021, while working as a deputy, Grayson did something that should have ended his career forever. He falsely arrested a man named Kyle Atkins. Grayson claimed there was a warrant out for Atkins. He said he had evidence against him. But here's the truth. None of it existed. There was no warrant. There was no evidence. Grayson had completely made it up. Kyle Atkins was arrested and put through the legal system based on lies. When the truth came out, it was clear that Grayson had violated one of the most basic rules of police work. You don't arrest innocent people based on false information. But somehow, Grayson kept his job. Then came 2022 and an incident that shows just how dangerous Sean Grayson really was. He was working for the Logan County Sheriff's Office when a high-speed chase started.
Grayson, who's now charged with her murder, had a troubled career that began with a stint in the Army, a discharge for misconduct, then followed by more accusations of misconduct.
We checked your front yard.
During his time in law enforcement, described as having trouble obeying orders.
During the chase, Grayson's supervisors gave him a direct order: stop the pursuit. End the chase. It was getting too dangerous. Sean Grayson ignored them. He kept chasing the suspect at speeds of 110 miles per hour. He turned off his lights and siren, making the chase even more dangerous for everyone on the road. He only stopped when he hit a deer.
County Sheriff's Department to terminate a high-speed chase over a traffic infraction, his speed at times reaching 110 miles per hour.
Are you pursuing?
I'm about to terminate. She's flying up 121 right now.
But Grayson didn't stop. He did, however, turn off his lights and siren, but kept going anyways until he hit a deer.
Think about that. Grayson was willing to put innocent drivers at risk by racing down public roads at 110 miles an hour, ignoring direct orders from his bosses. The chase only ended because he crashed into an animal. After this incident, Grayson's supervisors called him in for a meeting. They talked about his misconduct. They even discussed firing him. This should have been the moment when Sean Grayson's law enforcement career ended forever. But instead of firing him, the Logan County Sheriff's Office did something unbelievable. They cleared him of any wrongdoing. Even worse, they never reported his misconduct to other agencies. They kept it secret. So when Grayson applied for his next job at the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, they had no idea about the high-speed chase. They didn't know about the false arrest. They didn't know about his military discharge for misconduct. All they saw was a guy with law enforcement experience looking for work. This is how Sean Grayson ended up with a badge and a gun on July 6, 2024. This is how a man with a history of lying, reckless driving, and ignoring orders was put in a position to protect and serve the community. The system failed at every level, and Sonya Massey paid the price with her life. What happened next was unusual for a police shooting case. Justice moved fast. The Illinois State Police took over the investigation immediately. They had everything they needed because Grayson's partner had his body camera running during the entire incident. The footage captured every word, every movement, and every terrible second of what happened to Sonya Massey. Here's something important. Sean Grayson didn't turn on his own body camera until after he had already killed Sonya. Think about that. He shot her first, then turned on his camera. If his partner hadn't been recording, we might never have known the truth about what really happened in that kitchen. On July 22nd, just 16 days after Sonya's death, the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office did something that shocked everyone. They released the body camera footage to the public. Most police departments fight for months or even years to keep this kind of footage secret, but this time they knew they couldn't hide what their deputy had done. The footage was devastating. It showed exactly what we've been telling you, a scared woman trying to help police officers in her own home, saying a prayer, and then being murdered for it. Within 2 weeks of the shooting, Sean Grayson was fired from the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office. But losing his job was just the beginning. On July 17th, a grand jury looked at all the evidence and made their decision. They indicted Sean Grayson on 5 serious charges, 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of aggravated battery with a firearm, and 1 count of official misconduct. If convicted on the murder charges alone, Grayson faces 45 years to life in prison. The battery charge could add another 6 to 30 years. The misconduct charge adds 2 to 5 more years. Grayson has been sitting in jail without bail ever since. His lawyers have tried everything to get him out, even taking their case all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court. But so far, every court has said the same thing. Sean Grayson stays locked up until his trial. The state's attorney, John Milhiser, didn't mince words when he reviewed the case. He said there was absolutely no evidence that Grayson was justified in using deadly force. None. The prosecutors compared Grayson to an officer who jumps in front of a moving car and then claims he had to shoot because he was afraid of being hit. The shooting was so bad, so clearly wrong, that it ended the career of Sheriff Jack Campbell, the man who hired Grayson in the first place. Campbell announced he would retire on August 31, 2024, just 2 months after Sonia's death. He was replaced by Paula Crouch, who became the county's first female sheriff. What state or country are you watching from? Share your thoughts on police accountability in your area. Sean Grayson's trial is set to begin on October 20th, 2025, in Peoria County. After months of delays and legal battles, he will finally face a jury for what he did to Sonya Massey.
Developing story, the trial of the deputy accused of shooting and killing Sonia Massey will come to Peoria. Grayson faces first-degree murder charges for shooting and killing Sonia Massey inside her home in July 2024 after she called police for help. All of the pretrial hearings will stay in Sangamon County. He'll be back in court April 23rd, but jury selection and the trial will be in Peoria County.
But the fight for justice was just getting started. Sonya Massey's death sent shockwaves far beyond Springfield, Illinois. Her story reached the highest levels of government and sparked changes that will affect police departments across the country. Former President Joe Biden himself issued a statement about Sonia's murder. He called her a beloved mother, friend, daughter, and young black woman who should be alive today. Biden said that when Americans call for help, they should be able to do so without fearing for our lives. He called on Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act and said our fundamental commitment to justice is at stake. Sonia's family hired Ben Crump, the same civil rights lawyer who represented the families of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Crump has made it his mission to fight for families destroyed by police violence, and he took on Sonia's case with the same passion. The federal government stepped in too. The Department of Justice launched a full investigation into the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, looking for patterns of discrimination and misconduct. The investigation found enough problems that the Sheriff's Office had to agree to report all complaints to the DOJ twice a year. In February 2025, 8 months after Sonia's death, her family reached a settlement with Sangamon County. The county agreed to pay $10 million to Sonia's children and family. County Board Chair Andy Van Meter said, "No price paid can take back the actions of a rogue former deputy, but this agreement is an effort to provide some measure of recompense to the Massey family for their unthinkable loss." But money wasn't enough. Real change had to happen. In May 2025, the Illinois House passed something called Sonya Massey's Bill, House Bill 1953. This new law requires much more thorough background checks before anyone can be hired as a police officer. If this law had existed when Sean Grayson was job hunting, he never would have been hired. The community created something called the Massey Commission, a group of citizens working to fight racism in law enforcement and rebuild trust between police and the people they're supposed to protect. All of these changes happened because one woman's death was so wrong, so clearly unjustified, that it forced an entire system to look in the mirror and admit it was broken. But perhaps the most important change is happening in police departments across America, where officers are being reminded of a simple truth. Every person they meet is someone's child, someone's parent, someone who deserves to go home safe. Sonya Massey's death teaches us hard truths about what needs to change in American policing. Her story shows us exactly where the system breaks down and how we can fix it. First, we need better ways to handle calls involving people who are struggling with their mental health. Sonya was dealing with her own challenges, and her mother had called 911 multiple times asking for help. Instead of sending armed officers to every call, many cities are now sending trained counselors and social workers to help people in crisis. These professionals know how to calm situations down instead of making them worse. Second, background checks for police officers must get much stronger. Sean Grayson's history of misconduct should have kept him from ever getting a badge. The new Sonya Massey's bill in Illinois is a good start, but every state needs laws like this. Police departments can no longer hire officers without knowing their full history. Third, officers need real training in how to calm situations down instead of making them more dangerous. When Sonya said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," a properly trained officer would have recognized that she was scared and trying to cope with stress. Instead, Grayson saw it as a threat and responded with violence. Fourth, communities need more control over their police departments. The Massey Commission in Sangamon County is a perfect example. Citizens working together to make sure their police serve everyone fairly and safely. Finally, we need to understand that police accountability isn't just about punishing bad officers after they hurt someone. It's about stopping them before they can cause harm. It's about creating systems where officers like Sean Grayson never get hired in the first place. Sonya Massey called for help and got a killer instead. We owe it to her memory to make sure that never happens again. Sonya Massey's name will not be forgotten. Her death has become a rallying cry for change, joining the voices of countless others who lost their lives to police violence. But Sonya's story is different because of how quickly justice moved and how many people stood up to demand accountability. On October 20th, 2025, Sean Grayson will finally face a jury for what he did to Sonya. He'll sit in a courtroom in Peoria County and answer for those 3 shots he fired into an innocent woman's head. The evidence against him is overwhelming. The body camera footage speaks for itself. Justice for Sonya is within reach. But this case is about more than just one killer cop going to prison. It's about the changes that happen because people refuse to stay silent. The $10 million settlement, the new background check laws, the federal investigation, the community commission working to rebuild trust. Most importantly, it's about Sonya's children, Malachi and his sister, who lost their mother but gained an army of people fighting to make sure no other family goes through what they've been through. Sonya was a woman of faith who turned to prayer when she was scared. She was a mother who put her children first, even when she was struggling. She was a daughter whose family loved her despite her battles. She was a human being who deserved to live. Her legacy isn't just the reforms that came after her death. It's the reminder that every person who calls 911 for help deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. Every person deserves to go home safe to their family. She called for help on July 6, 2024. She never got it, but her story has helped millions of other people who will call for help in the future. That's how we honor her memory. That's how we make sure she didn't die for nothing. Rest in peace, Sonya. Your fight for justice continues. If this story moved you, Please like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more true crime content that affects us.